What is up, members of the Yante universe? My name is Vicente Yante. Welcome back to another exciting edition of Wrestling Talk. I'm kind of running out of ideas of what I should talk about, so I'm actually trying to start like a new series. So I guess you can say this is kind of like a mini series of like my favorite years in wrestling and reviewing the pay-per-views and all that good stuff. Not going over every match, but just the importance of the pay-per-view, like the importance of the rivalries, if you will. So before I get started, I would like to send a shout out, two special shout outs to my man Brian X64 and Mike Gamer. And I want to comment real quick. As far as 2006, I really enjoyed the ending of 2006. It was a great year, great pay-per-views. The earlier part was kind of ugh, but we'll discuss that later. But anyway, so now on to the topic at hand. We're going to be talking about the year 2001, starting off with the bang, the Royal Rumble, which took place in New Orleans, Louisiana. I don't remember the date, but I'm trying to remember the location of each pay-per-view. So we had, well, I'm not going to remember all of them, obviously, but, you know, whatever. It is what it is. Alright, first up we have the Royal Rumble match, which was won by Stone Cold Steve Austin. Great choice. It also saw the entry of Drew Carey. If you're not familiar with Drew Carey, he's like a comedian type of person. He had his own talk show. He's also the guest host of The Price is Right. Not the guest host, he's the main host. Sorry, I'm an idiot. We had the return of the Honky Tonk Man. It was a star-studded Royal Rumble. Stone Cold Steve Austin ended up Stone Cold Steve Austin ended up winning the match, which was good, despite interference from Triple H. Anyway, speaking of which, Triple H would fight Stone Cold. Triple H would fight Kurt Angle for the WWE Championship. Sorry, guys, I get a little confused and tongue-twisted, so if I do that, then I'm sorry. So Triple H fights Kurt Angle for the WWF title. Villain versus villain. I'm not going to say heel versus heel, because that sounds retarded and stupid, and and sadly, the wrestlers use those words, which, it's lame. But I mean, I guess I got to get used to it. I mean, even as much as I hate it, I have to get used to it, which I have trouble adjusting to that. But whatever, it's the wrestling business. It can be shitty sometimes, including its terminology. But anyway, I digress. Anyway, so we had Triple H versus Angle, Kurt Angle, villain versus villain, bad guy versus bad guy, if you will. And this match ended in a no contest because. Or actually a disqualification, because Stone Cold came out and beat the shit out of Triple H. And that pretty much was what led to Triple H attacking Austin before he got in the Rumble match. So the match was what it was. It was bad guy versus bad guy, which was stupid. And as far as any other major feuds, one that I think will never get acknowledged was Chris Jericho versus Chris Benoit. Intercontinental title ladder match. Jericho won. If you guys don't remember, you know that this feud was pretty hot at the time, and it was rather epic. But sadly, WWE will never acknowledge it because Chris Benoit is a psychopathic son of a bitch who killed his wife and his son, and he deserves to rot in hell. Anyway, I digress. I mean, he was a good wrestler. Don't get me wrong, but the guy was a freaking loose cannon towards the end of his life. I might talk about that in a separate video, but anyway. I digress. So, moving on to No Way Out 2001. Yeah, No Way Out 2001. I gotta remember which year. So, we're doing 2001, No Way Out. Stone Cold versus Triple H in a 3 Stages of Hell match. Great match. Triple H ended up going over, and this pretty much solved the feud. Because if you guys remember the storyline, Triple H was the mastermind behind Austin getting run over by a car. And, yeah, anyway. We also had The Rock versus Kurt Angle for the WWF title. The Rock won, which would then cement the main event for WrestleMania 17, which we're going to get to here shortly. We also had Stephanie McMahon versus Trish Stratus, a really interesting match. Regal comes out and attacks Trish and pretty much gives Stephanie the win. This was back when man on woman violence was tolerated back in that period, because it was the Attitude Era. Anyway, or getting towards the end of the Attitude Era. But anyway, so I don't really remember much about whatever other match. I know Big Show fought Raven for the hardcore title. Undertaker Kane versus Haku Rikishi versus the Dudley Boys versus, I want to say Edge and Christian. I could be wrong, but whatever. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Anyway, this pay-per-view took place, I believe, I want to say in Las Vegas. Again, guys, if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. So, yeah, No Way Out. WrestleMania 17, Houston, Texas, the Astrodome. Really great event. A really, really great pay-per-view. A lot of good matches. We had the Acolytes teaming up with Taz against the Right to Censor, Val Venus, Bull Buchanan, and the Good Father. And then we had Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit, a great technical match. We had Regal versus Jericho for the IC title. Triple H versus Undertaker. Big Show versus Raven versus Kane for the hardcore title. And the big main event of the evening was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock. And this pay-per-view was infamous for Austin turning into a bad guy. Again, I'm not going to use that retarded-ass terminology that you wrestling smarks and a lot of these wrestlers use. I like to say bad guy or villain. So Stone Cold became a villain, pretty much sided with Vince McMahon, who he pretty much said he hated, and they drank beer together, and JR was freaking out on the commentary. If you don't believe me, just go back and listen to him. He's just cursing and flipping out, and, you know, because I believe, you know, him and Stone Cold are friends, and in order for JR to sell the bad guy turn, he pretty much had to like, why, Steve? Why this way? You know, it was crazy. So Stone Cold wins. He becomes WWF champion. Backlash was a different, rather unique pay-per-view because we had a tag team match as our main event. We had Triple H and Stone Cold, who had just become allies, against The Undertaker and Kane for every male championship. We had the Intercontinental Championship, the Tag Team Championship, and the WWF Championship. They were all on the line. And the two-man power trip, Triple H and Stone Cold would end up winning. And yeah, Taker and Kane were defeated. Also on that night we had Chris Benoit versus Kurt Angle, another match in their trilogy of matches that they had against each other. It was a ultimate submission match, I believe. And then after that we had Judgment Day, which again we had the continuation of the two-man power trip versus the Brothers of Destruction. We had Triple H versus Kane in a chain match, which was won by Kane, despite interference from Stone Cold Steve Austin. Then we had Taker versus Austin for the WWF title, which ended with Austin winning. Again, I don't remember the pay-per-view. I have the DVD, but I don't remember like the entire match. So, yeah. Anyway, then we have also on Judgment Day we also had the 2 out of 3 falls match, I believe, for Kurt Angle's gold medals, because Chris Benoit stole Kurt Angle's medals. So, yeah, that was crazy. So, then we go on to King of the Ring. Interesting pay-per-view. We have Shane McMahon versus Kurt Angle in a brutal match. This was the night where Shane suffered a serious concussion because Angle suplexed him and he tried to break some glass and it ended up not breaking, so Shane took a really bad bump. Anyway, so then we also had any other matches I could remember. Well, obviously Edge won the King of the Ring, if that's definitely something of importance. And then we had Chris Benoit versus Steve Austin versus Jericho for the WWF title. And this was also the night where Booker T made his debut. He attacked Steve Austin. So, yeah. Then we go on to one of the more unique pay-per-views, Invasion, one of my favorite pay-per-views, WWF Invasion. WWF versus ECW versus WCW. Great show. I loved it a lot. A lot of people hate it. I liked it. This was a night when we had that big 5-man match. We had Stone Cold, Kurt Angle, Jericho, Undertaker, Kane, and then we have Booker T, Rhino, Diamond Dallas Page, and the Dudley Boys. I believe that's all 5. Let me see. Booker T, Rhino, DDP, and yes, that's all 5. Dudley Boys. Yes. So we got it, guys. Boom. Got the main event right in one fell swoop. Didn't botch nothing. So the bad guys ended up winning because Stone Cold gave a stunner to Kurt Angle. And again, Stone Cold, bad guy turn number 2. Which would set things up for SummerSlam. So, other matches on the card, we had Tajiri versus Taz. We had Agent Christian versus Mike Awesome and Lance Storm. We had Rob Van Dam versus Jeff Hardy in one of the most awesome matches for the hardcore title. Moving on to SummerSlam, we had Austin versus Angle. That started their feud. Of course, Invasion was the mark of their... Invasion marked the beginning of their feud. So we had Angle versus Austin. Rather lackluster match. I didn't like it too much. The Rock made his pay-per-view return versus Booker T in a winning effort. The Rock won, became WWF WCW champion, which would later be morphed into the World Heavyweight Championship. Anyway, yeah, that lame-ass gold belt that everybody jizzes over. I can't stand it. But, first of all, that belt's heavily overrated. Everybody likes to mark out to that. It's like, it's not that big of a deal, guys. Calm down. Shit. I mean, it's a good belt. It fits on certain wrestlers. I just thought it was heavily overrated. The only wrestlers that belt looked good on were Big Show and Batista and The Undertaker. And if you want to include Kane, then you can. It looked really bad on Rey Mysterio. But anyway. The Rock versus Booker T. Rock won. Sorry if I go off topic. Other than that, I know we had Jeff Hardy versus RVD in a ladder match for the hardcore title. I think. Wait, no, hold on. Was it a ladder match? Damn, I if it was in a ladder match, let me know, guys, please. Anyway, sometimes I haven't watched SummerSlam in forever. We had Rhino versus Jericho, which this is a match that Rhino lost. Jericho finally beat Rhino. Other than that, I don't really remember much about SummerSlam. It was kind of a letdown pay-per-view, for me at least. Moving on to Unforgiven from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. At least I remember that location. So we had Stone Cold versus Angle in the main event. Kurt Angle won. That was his night. He was WWF champion in his home territory of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, PA. Anyway, home of the Steel Curtain. Anyway, so Kurt Angle became champion. The Rock versus Booker T and Shane McMahon in a handicap match for the WCW title. We had Undertaker and Kane versus Chronic, Brian Clark and Brian Adams. Really a kind of a secondary pay-per-view with little, Tajiri versus Rhino U.S. title match. I mean, the show was what it was. No Mercy, I don't remember much about it. I just remember Angle, RVD, and Stone Cold in the triple threat match for the title. Stone Cold would get the belt back on October 8th. And, yeah, and let me see what else. Taker versus Booker T, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Damn, I'm drawing a blank, sorry guys. Like I said, I don't remember much about No Mercy. I just remember like the main matches that everybody cares about. Damn. Anyway, let's move on to Survivor Series because I have more fond memories of this event. This was the night when we had Team WWF versus Team Alliance. You had Big Show, The Rock, Undertaker, Kane, and Chris Jericho versus the team of Stone Cold, Kurt Angle, Shane McMahon, RVD, and Booker T. So let me I hope I didn't mess that up. We had Stone Cold, Shane McMahon, Booker T, RVD. Crap, hold on. We had Stone Cold, Shane McMahon, Booker T, RVD, and Kurt Angle. I got it. Yes. So this was the night when Jericho became a villain. He attacks The Rock, pretty much becoming a dastardly piece of trash. Yeah, I did not like Jericho back in 2001. I like him now, but not back then. I didn't like him. So to sum it all up, Team WWF won with The Rock pinning Stone Cold. And I'm not going to go over the eliminations because that would waste too much time, and I'm kind of running out of time with this video. But anyway, we have only one more pay-per-view, so we're good. Another match we had on the card, we had Tajiri versus Regal. We had Immunity Battle Royal, which was won by Test. And then we had Edge versus Test, champion versus champion. The Dudleys versus the Hardys, unification tag title match in a steel cage. And after that, I think that's pretty much it about the pay-per-view. Al Snow versus Christian for the European title. Anyway, now on to the final pay-per-view. We had... the pay-per-view was not Armageddon, by the way. It was actually Vengeance. So we had Vengeance, our final pay-per-view, which was the home of the Undisputed title coronation, meaning that we had our first ever Undisputed champion crowned in the form of Chris Jericho. So we had, I think we had like 4 main events. No, three main events. Austin versus Angle, Rock versus Jericho, and then the winners of those 2 previous matches, meaning that Stone Cold beat Kurt Angle, Jericho beat The Rock, and then we had Jericho versus Austin. So, yeah. Hopefully that made sense to you guys. Anyway, so then we also had other matches, RVD versus Undertaker. Great match, hardcore rules. And then we had Lita versus, we had Jeff Hardy versus Matt Hardy, brother versus brother with Lita as the guest referee. And then we also had Regal versus Edge for the Intercontinental title. So as far as everything else, I mean, that's pretty much it as far as the matches and what I remember from the pay-per-views. I'm just going over my analysis. Let me know what your favorite pay-per-view was. Let me know what was your favorite match. And if I forgot anything, let me know in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Vicente Yante. Subscribe if you haven't already and turn on notifications. And stay tuned and stay alert. Make sure to elbow drop that like button. And I'll see you all next time. And I love you to death, and stay safe, and be careful. Alright guys, adios amigos.